I was looking at my business ledger the other day,
Yeah.
and I realized something a bit disturbing. We are all paying this, well, I've started calling it the intelligence rent.
The intelligence rent. That is an incredibly accurate way to describe it.
Right. Because for the last 3 years, we've been conditioned to believe that AI is strictly a service.
Mm-hmm.
You want a summary, you pay the monthly sub. You want to generate code, you pay per token.
Exactly.
We are essentially renting a brain from a landlord we don't know, a landlord who can change the rent or the rules whenever they feel like it.
And that is the trap. It's convenient, sure.
Hmm?
But the shift we are seeing now asks a totally different question.
Which is,
What if you could just own the brain? Not a subscription to it. The actual files, the intuition, sitting right there on your local drive, doing your bidding for free.
that is exactly where we are going today. It is Friday, February 27th, 2026.
Time flies.
The DeepSeek moment is a full year behind us. The landscape has settled. And the question isn't if you can run a GPT-5 class model on your laptop anymore. The question is, why haven't you started yet?
Honestly, if you haven't started, you're falling behind on the most important asset class of the decade.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are exploring a really fascinating guide today by Max Ann. It's titled The Complete Guide to Open Source AI in 2026.
It's a great piece.
It really is. And it doesn't just read like a standard tutorial. It reads more like a survival manual for the modern internet.
Yeah, what I appreciate about this approach is that it moves us past the philosophy. We aren't just talking about the ideals of open source.
Right.
We are breaking down the actual stack, the software and the hardware you need to reclaim your digital sovereignty.
So give us the roadmap for today. If you, the listener, want to move from being a user to an operator, what does that path look like?
We're going to tackle this in 3 stages. First, we need to dismantle the stack itself. Understand the difference between the recipe and the meal. Second, we have to address the elephant in the room, the geopolitics. We need to look at why Chinese-built models are dominating the charts and dismantle the fear around using them locally.
That's a massive point. I think a lot of people see made in China on software and immediately think spyware.
Exactly. And we're going to debunk why that's a misunderstanding of how open weights actually work.
Correct.
And finally, we are going to get practical. We're going to walk through building a private financial analyst agent that runs entirely offline. No cloud, just your bank statements and your local AI.
I love that. Let's start at the beginning then. Open source AI. It's a buzzword we've heard since 2023. But in 2026, the definition has really hardened.
It has.
What are we actually talking about here? It's not just free software, right?
No, not at all. The source uses this culinary analogy that I think is just perfect. Think of closed source AI, your GPTs, your Claudes, as a finished meal delivered to your door in a locked box.
Okay, I follow.
You get the meal. It tastes great. But you don't know exactly what's in it? You can't change the seasoning. And most importantly, if the restaurant closes, you starve.
That's the API model.
Precisely. Open source is different. They don't give you the meal. They give you the recipe, the ingredients, and the keys to the industrial kitchen.
You own the whole process.
You own the architecture, you own the training code, and critically, you own the weights.
Let's pause on that word, weights. We hear that term constantly. For the non-engineers listening, what exactly is a weight in a dozen words or less?
Think of a weight as the crystallized intuition of the model.
Crystallized intuition.
Yeah, it's just numbers representing the relationships between words. It's the physical brain file sitting on your hard drive.
So it's the difference between dining out and being the chef.
Exactly.
But this shift didn't just happen gradually. There was a specific tipping point. The source calls it the DeepSeek moment.
January 2025. That was the turning point.
I remember it vividly.
Before that, open source was, well, it was kind of cute. It was for hobbyists making funny poems. Then DeepSeek R1 dropped.
And the floor just fell out from under big tech valuations.
It did, because suddenly you had a model that wasn't just good for being free. It competed directly with the closed giants on pure reasoning, math, coding, logic.
It proved you didn't need a $1 trillion data center to be smart. You just needed better math.
Exactly. It changed the psychology of the entire industry.
So is the main benefit just saving the monthly subscription fee?
No, it's data sovereignty.
Yeah.
Total immunity to corporate pricing and privacy changes.
Right. You're the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
But let's talk about where that engine is coming from, because we really have to address the China factor.
We do. It's unavoidable.
As of mid-2026, if you look at the Hugging Face download charts, the top slots are dominated by names like Qwen, Hunyuan, GLM.
All Chinese build models.
Right. And the source quotes a stat from A16's that roughly 80% of their portfolio startups are building on top of these models.
It's a staggering number. Western capital building on Eastern code.
But for a lot of listeners, that triggers a reflex. They think, wait, am I sending my data to China? Is this a Trojan horse?
Right. And this is the most critical technical distinction we need to make today. Using a Chinese model in open source does not mean connecting to a Chinese server.
Walk us through that mechanism. How can you be completely sure?
When you use a closed model, you send data to a server via an API. They process it, they see it, they send it back. That is a surveillance risk.
Right.
But with open source, you are downloading a file, the weights we talked about, directly to your hard drive. Once that download finishes, you can literally pull the Ethernet cable out of the wall.
The model runs purely on your silicon.
Exactly. A Chinese-hosted API is a surveillance risk. But a Chinese-built open-source file running on your disconnected laptop, that is just math. It cannot phone home because there is no home to phone to.
You are the host.
Yep.
If the models are free and local, does that mean the AI arms race is over for the consumer?
In a way, yes. Western investment accelerated, but we just get better tools faster.
We are the beneficiaries of their war. I like that. But let's be real for a second. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, it's not.
The source has a section detailing the honest pros and cons. What's the catch?
The catch is friction.
Yeah.
It's not magic. The biggest pro is control and privacy. No per-token fees. But the con, you are the IT department.
There is no support desk to call.
Exactly. If the model hallucinates or your GPU drivers won't update, that's on you. You have to be willing to tinker.
And speaking of tinkering, let's talk hardware. Because honestly, the hardware specs still intimidate me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I still wrestle with prompt drift and memory limits myself. Whenever I see terms like VRAM and quantization, I feel like I'm trying to build a gaming PC in the 90s.
It is totally valid to feel intimidated. But the barrier has lowered massively thanks to that exact word, quantization.
That's essentially compression, right? Like making an MP3 for AI.
That is a perfect analogy. High-end models used to be these massive uncompressed files. Quantization is a way of reducing the mathematical precision of those weights, making the file dramatically smaller.
Does compressing a model via quantization make it dumber?
Surprisingly little. It strips file size without gutting the reasoning capabilities.
That is wild.
It really was the big discovery of the last couple of years. You can shrink a file by 70% and maybe lose 2% of its logic skills.
So what are the actual hardware requirements now? Lay out the rough guide for 2026.
Okay, if you want to run a small, fast model, say 1 to 3 billion parameters.
Yeah.
Good for quick summaries. You only need 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Basically any modern laptop.
Exactly. Now, if you want strong capabilities, coding, complex analysis, that 13 to 34 billion parameter range, you need 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM.
So a high-end MacBook or a solid gaming laptop.
Right. If you want the frontier performance, the 70 billion parameter beasts, you need 32 gigabytes of VRAM or more.
That's workstation territory.
It is. But the main takeaway is you do not need a supercomputer. Your daily work machine is probably enough to start.
Okay, we have the hardware sorted. Let's actually build the stack. The source visualizes this as 4 distinct layers.
Let's start at the bottom. Layer 1, the models.
The brain itself. The source mentions Qwen 3 from Alibaba, and it notes that Qwen 3.235B is currently rivaling GPT-5 benchmarks.
Which is insane for a downloadable file. You also have Llama from Meta, which is basically the industry standard for compatibility, and Mistral from Europe, which is incredibly efficient.
You can't just run a raw file, you need a manager.
Right. That brings us to layer 2, Llama.
Explain Llama.
Think of Llama as a package manager for brains. It makes running local AI ridiculously easy. You download the app, open your terminal, and type Llama run Qwen 3.
And that's it.
That's it. It downloads the weights, configures your hardware, and drops you into a chat interface.
You know, I have to just pause on that for a second just to marvel at it.
Oh, absolutely. Whoa. Just imagine it. 1 billion parameter intelligence, capable of coding and deep reasoning, living silently on your laptop hard drive, waiting for a command. No internet needed.
It feels like stealing fire from the gods.
It really does.
If a llama runs the brain, how do we make it actually do work?
We need hands. And that is where the orchestration layer comes in.
Layer 3. Introduce us to N8M.
So N8N is for non-coders. It's a visual workflow builder. You literally draw lines between boxes on your screen.
Like connecting flowcharts.
Exactly. One box is check Google Drive. The next is send to a llama. The next is draft an email. It connects the local brain to your external tools.
And the source mentions something called the self-hosted AI starter kit.
Yes, this is brilliant. It bundles NAN, a llama, a vector database called Qwen for memory, and PostgreSQL all into one single Docker container.
One download and you have the brain, the hands, and the long-term memory.
Exactly.
Briefly, what about layer 4 for the developers?
That's the Python frameworks. Tools like the OpenAI agents, SDK, LangGraph, Llama Index.
Is the logic different when switching from OpenAI to local AI?
No, the agent logic is identical. You just swap the brain component in your settings.
Meaning you just change the web address it points to.
Right. You change it from the OpenAI server to your local llama address. The code stays exactly the same.
That makes the transition frictionless. Okay, we've got the theory. Let's make this real with a practical demo from the source.
The private financial analyzer.
Yes. Walk us through the scenario. Why use open source for this specific task?
Because of the risk. You are analyzing 3 years of bank statements and credit card history. You would never upload those PDFs to a public cloud chatbot.
Absolutely not. It's too sensitive.
So you do it offline. The workflow is simple. Step 1, download a llama and N8N. Step 2, pull a smart but efficient model like Qwen 2.538b.
Got it.
Step 3, import the workflow file. Step 4, point the read files node to a local folder on your computer containing your bank PDFs.
And then you just run it.
You run it. And the output is incredible. It categorizes your spending into housing, dining, subscriptions. It spots seasonal trends.
Like noticing you spend more on coffee in the winter.
Right. And it gives personalized savings advice based entirely on your actual habits.
And 0 bytes of that data ever left your laptop?
Completely contained. Oh, and the source has a great technical tip here. If your N8N container can't talk to your llama container, don't use localhost. Use http://host.docker.internal.11434.
Host.docker.internal. That is a lifesaver for anyone dealing with Docker networking issues.
It truly is.
Once it analyzes the past, can it help with the future?
Yes, you can extend it to run monthly and alert you when you overspend.
It goes from a tool to a proactive guardian.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up the stack, I want to touch on the coding ecosystem,
Yeah.
because this shift changes how developers build software too.
Oh, completely. Tools like Cursor, Warp, Continue, and Aider are reshaping development. You can have an AI coding assistant that knows your entire proprietary code base, but runs entirely locally.
So you aren't leaking company secrets to train someone else's model.
Right. And this brings up the main takeaway from the guide. Open source isn't about replacing commercial AI for absolutely everything.
It's about using the right tool for the job.
Exactly. Use commercial cloud AI for the absolute highest reasoning on a one-off task, but use local open source for privacy, for scale, and for building permanent systems.
What is the only thing holding people back now?
Honestly, just the habit of convenience. The technical barriers are basically gone.
It is just a matter of changing our default behavior. 2-sec silence. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the big idea behind all of this. Stay with us.
Be right back.
No sponsor.
And we're back.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've broken down the 2026 open source stack. We've talked about Llama, Qwen, and eGun. But let's zoom out to the core philosophy of this entire episode.
The big idea.
Yeah. Why does running this locally actually matter?
It all comes back to data sovereignty. In a world increasingly built on subscriptions and surveillance, running your own stack is an act of genuine independence.
It's opting out of the rental economy.
Exactly. You completely bypass vendor lock-in. You ensure that your business logic survives, even if a major AI company changes its pricing, pivots its model, or just goes offline entirely.
You are building an asset you actually own, not renting space on someone else's server.
Right.
So based on Maxan's guide, what is the challenge for the listener today?
The challenge is simple. Go download a llama. Open your terminal. Run a llama. Run Qwen 3. Watch the text stream across your screen and just see how it feels to physically own the intelligence.
Because if you sleep on this now, you are going to wake up next year paying rent on a digital house you could have easily owned.
Seriously. And I guarantee, once you see those tokens generating entirely offline for the first time, you're going to want to check your own server logs just to prove to yourself it isn't connected to the internet.
It feels like magic.
I still check my logs sometimes, just to be sure.
Speed. Here is a final provocative thought for you to chew on as we wrap up.
Let's hear it.
If you build a completely closed local system today, what happens when AI starts communicating via high-frequency local mesh networks tomorrow?
Wow.
Your isolated house suddenly becomes a node in a massive, decentralized nervous system that no corporation controls.
Now that is a deep rabbit hole. I might need to go spin up another container just thinking about it.
Have fun in the terminal. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.